Can I get confirmation we're seeing the screen?
Good. Yep. You can.
Cool. Right on. So yeah, as Nick Vargo had mentioned, we're talking about observations and punch lists today. So we'll do a quick demo, also talk about some things to consider, and we'll leave some time at the end for a Q&A. My name is Nick Mailman, Strategic Product Consultant here at Procore. Garrett is there with you guys as well. I see him over on the left side of your room. Cool. So like I said, today, doing observations, we'll spend about 15-20 minutes talking about observations, starting with methods of creation, talking a bit about differences in how the observations tool is used versus punch list, quickly touching on the workflow, which we should all be pretty familiar, and then we'll dive into a demo. We will have the similar structure for punch lists on the second half of our discussion here today. And like I said, we'll leave some time at the end for a Q&A. We do want this to be a collaborative conversation here today. So if anyone has anything at any moment in the room there, please feel free to chime in and we can go from there. Sound good for everybody?
Yep.
Cool. All right, observations. So given we're all Procore users, I think we're all pretty well versed in the variety of ways we could create observations in Procore. You know, on a mobile device, okay, we have the ability to quick create that manual entry on a mobile device via the create button at the bottom. Okay, quick capture as well. Quick capture recently rolled out iOS 100% general availability. Android, we're right around 50% use on being able to generate observations using quick capture. Mobile tools as well, we could generate observations from there. Okay, a new one that might not be familiar to as many folks is that we can actually generate observations as well from action plans. So items within an action plan, we can add a record that references an observation. Okay, so that could be an existing observation, or we could create a new observation from there. All right, then anyone else leveraging the drawings tool, you know, we could pin observations to the drawings. We could also use the locations tool on our mobile device, including referencing QR codes on the locations tool to generate observations. And on the web, the one, like I said, that will be new to some folks is actually generating observations from an action plan. Okay, can I get a quick show of hands? How in the field are many folks actually generating observations? Are we doing it via the mobile tool? Are we leveraging quick capture or using locations? Could I hear from someone? Let's start with Nick Vargo. Can you talk to me a bit about your use of observations?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mainly through the mobile device.
Yeah.
And it's a toss-up. I think it's 50-50 whether we're initiating those from dropping pins on drawings versus using the tool itself in the app. And then from there, it even varies on whether or not they want to do a quick, you know, like the little plus at the bottom, or actually drill into the tool itself and create one from there. You know, a lot of people are using quick capture, but it has to be at the right time of the job because job sites are noisy. And so it doesn't always make sense that you can talk into your phone when you got, you know, a lot of stuff going on around you. So we're kind of using it across the board.
And Nick,
Gotcha.
just a question for Nick Mailman. I want to jump in here really fast. Nick V, are you using observations for any other types of items beyond kind of quality? Like what can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so we're using observations for two different types of safety types. One for safety, like at-risk type items, but we also wanted to use it for safety recognition type items, so just due to the field set deal, we're actually using the environmental category since we don't really use that too often to recognize safety because we want to ask different questions. Yeah. And then yeah, we're using the actual safety types to capture safety. We're also doing it for, you know, it's our deficiency list. We stay away from making pre-punch lists and calling things extra punch lists and stuff like that. We track all of our work to complete, deficiencies, and even into warranty items and observations.
So you use quite a bit of these. So what what Nick Millman is showing up here are the categories that are default to observations in all of y'all's accounts. So if you have access to the observations tool at the company level, you're going to start with these categories of commissioning, environmental, quality, safety, warranty, and the last one is work to complete. Now, you can't change the categories, those headers per se, but you can add unique types underneath any of those categories. You can also turn off certain ones. So we'll see a lot of groups say, hey, we're just not going to use a lot of those environmental types of observations. So you might elect to just uncheck those so that they don't populate as an option for your guys potentially in the field. So a lot of people may not realize that observations can be used for a lot of different types of items aside from just quality or even just safety. But those are probably the two most commonly used categories that we'll see.
For us, it's a little bit of a quick one-on-one. Up to you. Something needs to be done.
Yeah.
Give it back.
And follow up to your question, we utilize observations similarly for, we'll call it like the pre-punch list, and we don't create that extra punch list. And then for safety occurrences that, in the daily log, we'll record positive and negative occurrences of safety, but the observation tool will use it. It's negative because we want to create that dialogue, that workflow. Yeah. So when you're recording the positive occurrences of safety in there for recognition, are you assigning that to the sub, and is there an expectation for them to respond to that, or how does that work?
We're using it mainly in, no, we're assigning it usually to our on-site safety manager, someone like the superintendent or something like that. And it depends on who it's going to. So there's no action needed on that trade, but we do run a report, and then we'll recognize them in the performance meetings. And we'll tell, we'll say, hey, these guys, great job, We also, parse out those and filter those out by the type around company level so that we know what company is working safe.
So that's been a challenge for us in the daily log because we're having people include, we use analytics as well. So like keywords like positive or good, that's how we'll parse out the difference. But, the observation tool then can actually parse those out.
Absolutely. So we had a custom field in our field set for the recognition for company. We made it required that at company level, we can pull just the company and the number of hits on recognition. Just at a high level to see like, hey, Berg Electric's got 30 in the last quarter. Someone else might have 10 or whatever. So just at a high level, we can pull that data.
But you also said put it under environmental, not actually under the safety one,
Yeah, because
just to kind of separate it.
we wanted to control the questions.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to ask different questions for recognition versus at risk.
I got a question. This might be a little off topic, but like if you do see at risk, what do you do? Like what's the, I guess, like punishment or repercussions, or like you just input it and then send it to their companies?
So I guess it depends on how everyone's kind of structured and stuff, but so our jobs usually have, some level of safety manager on site at a certain percentage. Some jobs is 100%, some jobs is, 25% or something like that. And so that's one of their responsibilities, or it's on the project team to, always think about safety on the job as well. So we're monitoring that. We know we can run reports. We have reoccurring weekly, scheduled reports that are showing the open items that are at risk. So it's just something that we have to keep tabs on.
But in a workflow sense, are you sending it directly to the sub?
Yes.
Like you're tagging the sub
Yes.
foreman, right?
Most of the time, if it's something that we need someone, one of the trades to fix, absolutely. It's kind to them. They're marking it ready to complete, returning it to us, and we're going to evaluate whether or not it's. Yeah. We can quickly filter for open or, just initiated really, observations or whatever, and leverage that in our performance meeting. Say, hey, where are we at with these things, guys? Yeah, these are 4 days past due. Like, what's going on?
The last project that I did, it was a school district, and the owner had a bunch of consultants that walked monthly. And they would send these reports that had a whole bunch of observations. Well, mixed in there was a bunch of deficiencies, and it was super hard to digest the information. So we taught all the consultants, and we've got several of them, they would go into observations, and they would specifically log their deficiencies. They then assigned up to us as the general contractor, and that way then we could manage communicating with the subs individually, but it was also a nice place to architect or those consultants communicate back with us, and we could then use it as our list to correct those things. Take the photo, write the notes, whatever, close them, send them back.
Nick, are you identifying those at-risk safety items primarily as observations as you spot them and you document, or and you've empowered your team to do that? Is it primarily happening via that kind of input method, or are you also running like safety inspections, and if an item is documented as failing or at risk from an inspection, are you also then creating the observation? Does it happen both ways, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, both. So we have it turned on where we're forcing an observation on failure of an inspection item. And then, all of our teams are empowered to do that quick observation right then and there, right on the spot, take the photo, sign it, and then collect it back. Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. That's why I asked, because a lot of groups will start with that safety inspection that you can now schedule, and you can have that scheduled every Monday or however often you need to run that. And you can also set up to where when an item fails, it automatically prompts the observation. Right. The observation is the vehicle that you then use to assign it to somebody, track the status, and that sort of thing. So yeah.
It's been a different mindset shift that, your initial reaction is when you fail an inspection item, you want to go fix it so that you can hit like that it was good and passed. And that's not the point. At that moment in time, that was a failed activity. We're tracking that completion of that, whatever that deficiency is, through the observation. But we also, we do safety inspections, true inspections a little bit differently, I think. We use action plans, and we build those out every month. And then we go through and we got a week by week action plan that will allow us to collect inspections, photos from safety meetings on site, review like JHAs and PTPs, photo document that stuff, all that. And it's got it all packaged in one spot.
Love that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, you can do
Working well.
cool stuff with action plans like that. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Nick.
All right, Nick,
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, all good.
Good
Go right ahead.
Yes, please.
Yep.
Yeah, all right. And one thing to just build off of that, if you're referencing action plans, you'll notice a recent rollout is actually being able to add an observation to a record within your action plan. So if there is an observation that's been created, or if you do need to create one and reference an item within your action plan, you're now able to do that. So that's a recent new feature product update. So be sure to take a look at that and test that out. All right, let's dive right back on in. So what's the difference? How to leverage both tools? It seems like we've began to touch on that quite a bit. We referenced that you can create observations from inspections. You could additionally convert observations from coordination issues, thinking BIM here. Okay, recent rollout as well, things that may have been updated since our last webinar on observations, is that you could actually filter observations that are pinned to drawings. Okay, so you could filter by observation type if you have a ton of observations that are linked to the drawings. Okay, and lastly, observations can be linked as a record to the action plan. And under utilized item as well that isn't referenced as much and actually wasn't referenced in this little sidebar is that observations can also be converted to change events. That's the first item listed here. Okay, so if there is a deficiency that could result in a potential change order and you're tracking on that in observations, you can convert that to your change event log. All right. Let's see, moving on. Okay, we're all pretty familiar with the workflow of observations, creating and assigning observations, and then that assignee is responding to the observation, at which point that you are going in to either approve or reject that response. Okay, so the workflow, and I don't even know if I want to call it a full-on workflow of observations, is pretty straightforward and simple to grasp. Now, at this point, one thing I'd actually like to do is folks that do have a mobile device, I want to see if we could actually log into Procore on your mobile device and create an observation directly from a photo. Okay. And typical use case is, you're walking around job site and you notice an item, you're snapping photos, and we need to create an observation from a photo directly. We now have that capability. So I'm curious if we would like to dive into our mobile app here and take a look at that. What do we think? Would that be a helpful exercise, or shall we keep moving on?
Yeah, no, I think so.
I think we try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nick, what we'd like to try is from the mobile app, going to the Photos tool, correct? And then in the
Correct.
Photos tool, there is now an option that says Create Item. This is a new function that was not there as of a couple weeks ago.
That's correct.
So it does depend on your app version that you have on your device, but I believe this is, as long as you're on a somewhat recent version, you should be in good shape. You should see that. And is it out on Android as well, Nick?
As far as I'm aware, yes. Yep.
Okay. So if you have your mobile device, phone or app, phone or iPad or tablet or anything like that, go to the Photos tool. You can click on a photo in the Photos tool. And then you should see at the bottom two options, one that says Share and one that says Create Item.
You want me to share?
Yeah, actually, if you can, that would be great.
Perfect.
Because I think with us now being on Teams,
Yeah.
that cuts out like M being able to share his iPad, unfortunately.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm doing it from my.
but if you can, that would be great, and I can kind of walk you through that, if you'd like.
Yeah. So, yeah, so if you're in the sandbox, if I go to our photos, you can,
Yep, so go ahead and click on Photos. So if you just click on any one of those, at the bottom, you see an option that says Create Item. Now, we also have this before and after, which is even somewhat new to me, which is super cool, but which I would imagine is really nice for punch type stuff. But if you click on Create Item, there, Nick, yeah, so you see a
Yep.
couple.
So
Here.
on an Android phone, it doesn't have the words, but it has an orange symbol that looks like the piece of paper with a plus.
Okay, and then does it give you the options?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got the same thing.
Okay, okay.
Right there.
you're the only one in the room.
Probably the only one in the room, but just in case.
Green set.
Oh, the green texter, get out of here.
I don't know what that is.
So, yeah, you can do all four things from any existing photo, which is pretty nice if you're around snapping photos, out in the field and stuff like that, and later on you see something, you want to create spin up an observation.
Yeah, I think that's like a perfect example and an ideal use case. If you have guys out in the field that are used to, or their process is taking photos potentially just through the Photos tool, this then allows them to potentially return back to a photo that was taken and put some action behind it, right? That's what the observation does, is it takes it just from a photo to being an actionable item. Now it's an observation that has an assignee, it has a description, it has a due date, status, and obviously you can then potentially report on it as well.
It allows anybody to do it, not just the person that took the photo.
As long as your, I would imagine permissions certainly tie in here.
Yeah, I just did it on my phone, and it's not a photo I took.
Yeah, so,
It was just a photo that I know somebody else took, and it was gonna allow me to create an observation.
yeah.
As an iPad.
And likely because your permissions would allow you to do that. I don't know that everybody could, but yes, I would think people that would have admin permissions on that project would be able to do that. They could take a photo that was uploaded by somebody in the field and then convert that to an observation, just like you described. Absolutely.
Not the sidebar, but real quick, if you did before and after, I played with this a little bit before. You just grab the other one, let's do that one, then you hit next, and then you'll do that, next.
And this
And
is
then you
the
get
before
the-
and after. Oh, yeah.
You get to select, do you want it truly side by side stacked, do you want one way or the other? And so you can do that, and then you can just save it. That's pretty cool. So that new one's right here.
Any questions on this from the gallery?
All right, turn it back over. Mailman.
All right, thank you. So let's dive into punch list, shall we? Given we're a bit more than halfway through. Punch lists. We'll have many of the same ways of creating punch list items, with one of the main differences actually being able to leverage imports, okay? But what we're gonna be talking primarily about today here and then what we have prepped is the use of quick capture, okay? So real quick, talk about a couple differences, and then Nick Vargo, I'm gonna ask you about your guys' process as well. So punch list definitely has a built-out workflow, okay? That workflow can look one of two ways. Either that creator is also the punch item manager, or that punch item manager is someone that's different than the creator, and that workflow ends up looking a bit different. But punch list, we could actually have multiple assignees, and then we could also leverage templates in the same way that observations, we provide, out of the box observation types. We provide out of the box default CSI templates to leverage on the punch list tool. Okay, like I mentioned, you can leverage Procore imports for punch lists as well. And punch list additionally has some dynamic in-tool dashboards on the web, and similar to observations, there is a filter for you to filter by type on your drawings if they are pinned to your drawings. So Nick Vargo, I'm going to lean on you a bit. Can you talk to me a bit about your punch list process? Do you have different types of punch list items and the overall workflow?
Yeah, absolutely. We do set up templates so that we can, more quick. Does anyone else use templates in the punch tool? So like you can very quickly set up, default assignees or default, punch item managers or so on and so forth. So we definitely leverage that and set up, on a project by project basis, just to simplify the whole process. And then really, and Lacey, you help me out here, but like really there's two classic ways that we use punch. And it all determines, if the design team is going to interact with the system or if they're not. And so if they do, then that's where that punch item manager really comes into play, and that final approver, because we can leverage the punch tool if the owner or the architect is going to be that final approver. That's their sign off. We have to do nothing more. We don't have to PDF something. We don't have to ship it off to them and get it all signed off like they already did it. But if they're not going to interact with it, then yeah, we're managing it ourselves, but we're assigning it to our trades. We're gathering, photos that are complete, that kind of thing, and then we're able to produce those reports in order to get sign off from either the design team or the owner. That's like the two basic levels.
Really start trying to do somebody's talking about pre-punch list, so we do work complete lists because we don't want to call it a punch list itself. There's a whole psychological thing there. We like to do collaborative punch lists if we can, us, the owner, the architect, as many people. The last job that I did chose to document everything. We walked around behind them, taking photos, tagging everything. We did templates. We made sure there was at least one template per sub, again, so that all that information quickly populates. I don't have to person. I personally like them from the drawings. That's where we started. We also will create usually an extra set of drawings, so just for the punch list, so that all those pins help the sub find the stuff and they don't mix up with our posted set of drawings. We found that to be pretty successful. We use the QR code posted on doors, in door hinges, wherever, to make the location clear. And then assigned stuff. The last job we did at school, and walked the whole thing in a week with everybody who needed to come punch, and sent out one list at the end of the week. Obviously, there's some cleanup of stuff in between, but
Following areas, like separate your QA/QC or punch sets or anything.
We will. So we're an owner developer, and we manage our own properties after the fact. So that's our in-house GC, and then we will hire third parties to do some of our larger projects. So some of the things you're talking about, we do in-house, but then we, the way we're trying to leverage Procore too is, well, we're going to manage this asset for 10 years, 15 years, and how we package that for, in theory, our management group to access that out of Procore. So we're leveraging templates, but slightly different than you are. The QR codes definitely we use, but template it down to different subcontractors for us. That wouldn't make as much sense. Ours are just a little more condensed for ease of just sharing that data with our management group.
The drawing areas has worked really well. We did it on our job, and we had the main construction drawings, and then we had a set of drawings that went with the completion list, and then a separate set that went with the punch list, so that you just weren't trying to find so much data on.
Well, we keep the punch inside of our main set of drawings. We'll use a drawing area for closeout for management. So we'll take a condensed set of drawings and then go out and take pictures of shut-off valves, whatever a maintenance person might need on the fly. And that's mainly how we use our area.
And that was why we did it for punch list and completion list, because it was a condensed set of drawings that was just attempting to get somebody in the appropriate location.
Yeah.
When I said that, so this way, when I put paint touch up, I don't have to put what wall, I don't have to put where it is in the rear, high, low, whatever.
Yep.
And yeah.
It's all about like making it possible on the train to interact with it and then complete what we're asking them to do. And so keeping those pins clean and also the contract documents, get them out of there, that was like helpful. And then the QR codes, being able to scan a room, to assign to your company, all the items that are assigned to your room, it makes it.
Are you pinning your observations to your construction set though?
No,
No, you're not.
not usually. If we're doing like a work to complete list, something like that, that area is usually called something like field QA QC, and we'll use it for everything like that. So if it's a safety thing, like a deficiency or something like that, we'll probably pin it on the regular drawing. We're not worried about covering that up with thousand items.
Yeah, and recently we had a conversation about that. I mean, you can always filter them off, but not everyone is in tune to how to filter to their views.
Right. Plus, if you do that QA/QC set, you got one floor plan instead of RCP floor plan, a furniture plan, 5 different sheets at the same level. Someone trying to figure out like someone put a pin over here, or someone put a pin over here. Like this is more finishes to me. This is more, whatever. It helps clean it up. Accessing the information quickly.
Nick V, that's a really good point. That's something that I really see as a best practice leverage often by a lot of GCs who take the approach of they're trying to get the best adoption from any collaborators. You want to try to make it ideally as simple as you can, right? So that's a really great use of the drawing areas because they can direct people to go to, hey, just go look at these drawings. We're going to pin just these items on these drawings that you need to care about. So then you don't have to worry as much about teaching them how to use the filters, or well, just make sure to filter for just these items and not these ones. You kind of tee it up for them, right? And that's a really nice way to use drawing areas is just condense it, make it simple. We're only pinning these items to these drawings. And it's just, in many cases, a lot easier for your collaborators, for people that are fighting in and need to find certain things.
Yeah, and Nick's creating an area right now, so that's where that is. If I haven't used it, it's in the settings, the little checkbox, enable areas, and then you'll immediately get this little button here so you can add drawing areas and parts on that setting.
Yeah, recently we have expecting the building multi-family properties, closing out of one place, and we are having the inspections done by the high. We are around electrical, for everyone. But what happens, like previously we used to do same like we are using heavily the Procore. We used to go and see the defects, click, assign the people, and send it to the managers to close that once. And we have got it like that, and we have distributed all the subcontractors and managers. And the problem here is that the subcontractors and managers are not communicating with your crew, or with your superintendent, or with your foreman or worker. So there was a communication gap. In that way, the conflicts were not closed up. And what we have done, the simple way that we have to always know the general workers, basic levels who doesn't know about the program, everything. And what we have created is like just PDF like that. Just PDF is one, and we have point out the rate one heading like here, and we point out in the drawing and the put simple the name of the trade. Okay, here is your defect. And this list we have created. In that list, we have around 10 subcontractors. We have multiple of it. And it just distributed this paper to the workers. Easily can find that, okay, this room, this point, okay, we have defect. With that drawing, they just point so very, because they can see the defect drawing and see it. And here, if you can generate this kind of program where it point out like this, it can pop up the pictures. Yeah.
So there's a report.
Yeah.
So instead of having to create something separate like that,
Yeah.
you are pinning your punch items to the drawing and taking a photo.
Yeah.
One of the standard reports that comes out of here is it's a lot of paper, but it'll print exactly all your text, the location, and the photo, so you can physically hand it to any dude that walks up to you and says, Mr. Painter, here's your list, and it has room numbers, the pin inside the room. They don't have to have the digital format. Now, granted, on our project, every form is enrolled in Procore, and they better know how to use it. But also to that training, we spent the time in our sub meeting to make sure they all knew how to use Procore prior to sending out the list. Like, there was a demo, let's all do it together, bring your iPad. That's the other piece of adoption that we do. We don't assume that the foreman, many who are non-English speaking, know how to use it. There's a live demo in the sub meeting right before, the week before we do punch lists. This is how you act for stuff. Here's how you respond to us. But we also do print out the list if somebody's not going to have it. And it comes right out of Procore. It's a button that says, like, with descriptions or with photos.
Photos and descriptions.
Yeah, and it just prints right out.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes out of there already. If you use the punch tool and you use all the options, it'll come out. So so it says with photos and drawings, PDF with photos and drawings, and you'll get a lovely, and if you've already filtered this by which sub, then it's just their item.
Cool. No, that's good. Good point.
Nick,
It's tough, right? Yeah.
he emailed you a quick video to show quick capture. I would like for that if we could.
Sure.
While he's setting that up, you want to show that report again
Yeah.
that you just had?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what Lacey was talking about.
It's like you get per page. We actually also sent this to the owner and the architect, so because we documented everything on their part, we just simply downloaded this thing. It was a big file because it was the whole entire job, but this is what we transmitted to them, and they got to check that this was their entire list. And then in our case, they did not choose to be the punch manager. When we told them it was done, they came back and walked and said, okay, that's good. Because we were able to produce the rest of the log too that said they were all closed. So they took this from us, and that's all they needed.
Is that like showing where, like what sheet from the drawing that Smith is coming from?
Yeah, it shows you like the room and where it was tagged.
Yeah,
Well, we also use locations. So
Right.
we have room numbers. I don't know exactly what he's got on here, but.
yeah, if you do location, I'll do the location, obviously, and then drop the pin on the drawing, it gives you a small little snippet of that.
Yeah, it's not sure. No, it does. Actually, it says drawing A111 first floor plan area A. Yeah, I think it comes out on there, but again, the QR codes hung up. We printed ours 8.5 by 11, stuck them to every door. You can also print the little labels if you want to stick them in the hinges of the door. We've done both of them. That works super great. You just walk past with your phone, scan it, and then it'll pull up, like he said, only their punch items for that room.
All right, this is a play.
Yes, you.
I understand.
So he's showing a new quick capture. Try here in a moment. There's a little label with the QR code tied to a location.
Swipes through simple instructions on how the I'll hit the red button recording, and as it's recording, I will describe the item that needs to be addressed. Replace missing strike plate. Continue. Rely on drywall damage near frame. I have now captured 4 items, all associated with the location. We'll be in the QR, which will update that location. Generate a.
He didn't have to hit a button to scan that. He just held his camera up to it. It recognized the QR code. Now he's creating new punch items for this new location. And then they go to a bucket, which you can kind of see at the bottom. It says review 5 items. Now we'll say review 6 items.
We'll now go to the review. I go to review items. Click a specific item. As well as the video. Tap on the video file. Like drywall damage. Have the photo. Transcribe. Put file and description. Set. Modify that as. And note in this particular instance, I said drywall damage. Drywall. When I go to, if I were to chase, all items in the future that we predict as drywall will be associated to chase by default. And when you are done, the item sent to this tool will be in an initiated status. Items will reside on local mobile device until they're sent to the punch list tool.
So I think what someone had brought up earlier was that sometimes quick capture might not be the best route to go, particularly in a noisy environment. So that's something to keep in mind. And I had never heard that before as well. So that is a limitation. You know, if it is a noisy environment, maybe quick capture isn't the best route to go. But to get items captured quickly, and if you use locations with the QR codes, quick capture is extremely valuable in that instance.
The only other thing to consider is how much consistency you want in your list and how things are named or called. That's the difference between kind of templates and quick capture. So if you have a bunch of people capturing items and you kind of want more consistency to what they're named and called and who they're assigned to, I honestly, like, this was not quite this advanced quick capture. It had just come out when we did our job. it was a crapshoot as to how fast I could do it from the pin inside the location, the photo, and my template versus the quick capture. So it is one of those things you have to work on, like, with your team, and what works for everybody.
Yeah, the other thing we ran into, we tried this on our last job, is because it has those video files, it takes a while to upload. So usually when you close out the app, it'll stop uploading. So like,
Yeah.
we thought we had our whole list and we were done, and then days later, more stuff popped up the next time you opened up the app. So just be cognizant of the upload stuff.
Yeah, even ours with photos, it took a while, depending on service and where you were sitting. Like, in your mobile device, there's a way to go look at the queue and see what has been uploaded. And yeah, we would have to monitor that, depending on how many people were doing it, I think, and the service that we all had, so.
For sure.
Yeah.
So like that one, it's able to take a video and have like 6 different things. Is there like a limit to that, or how long can you?
That's a good question. I don't know. Is there a limit to the queue, Nick?
I don't know if
As
there
far
is.
as I'm aware, no.
You'll probably get tired of doing it before you get to the limit.
So
It's a good point.
in most cases,
Yeah.
you get 2-second video for each item, right? So that is something you need to understand. It is not like I'm going to create a 5-minute video and capture 25 items. You're going to do quick 2 to 3 second videos for each individual item. But as you do that, it does compile those as unique and individual items that then go into that bucket that you then have to review and say, okay, yep, that looks good. That one can be official. Yep, that one can be official, and so on. And one thing that was mentioned at the very end of that is that those items do not live in the punch list tool created via quick capture unless you actually take them from your device and send them. That's correct. So that is another thing that I've seen people not realize and get hung up on and go, oh my God, I just created all these items. Where are they? They're probably still there. They should still be on your device, but you do need to make sure to send them to the punch list so that other people can start taking action on them.
So that's why I said it's kind of a toss-up, because when I do it from the template, I don't have to review it at the same time. I went and snapped a bunch of still photos. Also, to the other point, if you got a bunch of trades who are just really gonna do this off a piece of paper, your videos aren't doing anything if you know they're not gonna electronically interact with us. They may help you, but again, it's all about knowing your audience, your job, your users, like, how are
Yeah.
people gonna do
I think
this?
that's a
Just go with what Gus said.
Yeah, Lacey, I think you bring up a really good point, and especially as you were talking about punch and the templates and consistency of data, because you do lose that a little bit if you were to use that quick capture feature, because how you might describe an item in 2 to 3 seconds might sound a little bit different than what Nick might. And if you're really trying to get like a broad consensus and you want it to be clean, maybe for reporting purposes, then maybe just using the templates is potentially a better option, because you're likely going to get cleaner data. However, if you are somewhere where you've really struggled to capture all items and you just need a quick way to bang it out and just get all of them in there, and then you can kind of clean it up later, quick capture could be a really good option. I've also seen it do well when inviting collaborators, architects, owners. If you can get them, if you can show them how they can do that, that is, in many cases, a much easier way to get adoption and buy-in from them than asking them to go into Procore and logging the items a more traditional way, which in many cases they're going to be resistant towards. So, but if you could tell them, hey, just walk these rooms, create these using your voice, we'll kind of take it from there, you might get better buy-in. So kind of depends potentially on your situation, what you're looking to do.
Yeah. Good thing is it's flexible for, it can do a lot of different things for different situations. Nick, I think we've been having a good kind of Q&A as we've been going on. So we still have a few more minutes. If there's anything else you wanted to kind of topic to hit or cover or anything like that, I don't think we need a dedicated, 15 minutes Q&A. We've been doing it as we go.
No, we've covered everything I came prepped with. This has been a real good discussion. So, yeah, if there's any other questions from your end, then I do see hand raised over there in the back.
Could you guys show me how to call an observation? template, once you've made a template in observations, like how do you call it? Use it?
how do you actually like use the template itself? Definitely.
So the question, did you hear that, Nick? It was a question about how to leverage observation templates. Do you want to show how you could potentially set those up?
Yeah,
Well, he
yeah, certainly
set it up.
can.
Oh, okay. So so you set up the observation template, you know how to use it.
Right, for like, to use it quick.
Yeah. The basic answer is that once you set up the template, you apply it to the job and all that kind of good stuff, whatever. When you go to create observation, you can do without a template or create from a template and then select it from the list.
And with that, also only on mobile, if I'm not mistaken. I don't believe you can create observations from a template on web. So in order for you to see that observation template that you created, you likely have to create it from your mobile device.
Okay, yeah, I'm on the browser, I was wondering, that,
Okay, that's likely your issue.
Should
And
we
one of the other things, Nick pointed it out, but the workflow in observations and punch list is different. So like the observation is, I saw this thing and I sent it to one person, and then, they said it was done. Like that's kind of it. The punch list is a lot more fluid and it has more people that can be involved and all that stuff. So while we do, like I said, we advocate a sort of work to complete list, in preparation for punch list, it does have a little bit of limitation in the fact that we're using observation. But again, a lot of it, we want Liz to talk about in the sub meeting, hey, you guys need to finish all this stuff, in preparation for punch list. And we feel like we're more successful when we walk with an owner and architect if we just got done. Like sometimes, just the fact that everything's there is a much better punch list than, oh, yeah, that was missing and that was missing just because, whatever it was. So that's just something to know about how you use the tool.
Yeah, observations is really meant for much more simplistic workflow between like a creator of an item and the assignee of the item. I see the thing, I need you to fix it, it's kind of between us. You can kind of work around that a little bit, but it's kind of clunky. Punch list is gonna be much better for scenarios where you have multiple assignees, multiple personas and players that need to be involved at different stages. So, those are good things to consider and be aware of.
So at what stage of a project should the punch list item be generated as opposed to observation? I mean, if on a project you create observation list items, but at what stage does the punch list item?
Again, that's kind of a personal management preference. I've done that a few times in my career. 20 years in, subs don't like multiple punch lists. It doesn't matter if it was work that they were supposed to do 6 months ago. If you call it a punch list, it's literally a psychological thing. They're like, I don't care about your general contractor punch list. I'm waiting for the architect to walk anyway. Again, you have to feel out like your job and what your contractual requirements are. On a lot of our work, if we can get the design team to collaborate with us, again, we'll do a completion list and then when it's done, I mean, we go through and find it clean, and that's when we want the architect to walk and do a punch list. When we do student housing projects, when we do hotel type projects, by the time those owners and architects are walking, they pretty much expect it to be done. So in those scenarios, you might be needing to do something different. Or in a big high rise where you turn over floors at a time. Again, those project types are going to be different. So unfortunately, that is not a one-size-fits-all answer. Typically, it's got to be clean enough that you can see the quality of the product. Everything should be installed and you should be looking at the quality. You don't really want to be walking around going, well, the dishwasher is missing, and I know I didn't put any covers on the light fixture, that's not stuff, that's too much. Architects and owners are going to walk away if you have too many.
Good question.
So on that same topic, so for observations, we're assigning, work to complete items to our subcontractors. Let's just, for example, we assign the electrician 100 items under the observation tool, in preparation of our punch list, to the architect, clean. So they go through and they complete 50 items on that observation tool. So 50 remaining items that are still open. So now it's time for the punch walk. Those same 50 items are on our punch list. So now there's this 2 spots of, now there's on the observations, and now there's the same 50 items on the punch list. So if there's a way to just transfer those from punch list, it's kind of what we're seeing a little bit more work both on the office side, and then our subs are getting confused because now there's essentially the same item, 2 different spots. And I know that's more on the management side, but if there's an easy way to indicate or transfer those from observation to actual punch.
Yeah, I don't know that there.
There is not. We're dealing with
Yeah.
right now. We have a long list of observations still not complete. You know, that's on everyone to complete, but it just doesn't happen.
Your easiest thing, David, is to export a CSV file of your open observations and use the import tool that he just told you was available in PunchList. To save yourself time, save yourself the literal data entry time.
Gotcha.
And then whether you decide to, in the observations tool, make a note that you've moved it to the punch list,
Right.
you then do close that, but you can't bulk edit, things, and so
Right.
you should be able to select, filter down, select a bunch of them at a time and either just close them, or maybe you can add a note in one of the fields.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is an issue with the process that we suggested, but.
Right.
It's very much a workaround because it does take an effort to clean up.
Right.
Format to the template, import and all that. However, it is better than manually. You still can't take photos.
Some with alien, yeah, the photos don't carry over on the CSV, so that's you got to manage.
It's definitely a piece of feedback that's on your voice that we said, hey, really cool to elevate observations punch. Right?
Yeah, I know that we were actually hoping to have one of our product managers who owns this tool and a couple others that are relevant, is based here in Austin. She was hoping to be here, but she's not. But one of the things that they're looking at is what the future of punch and observation might look like. There is, I don't want to make any promises. There is some chatter that in discussion that is a topic about how would the group feel about merging those and having a single tool potentially. That's something that we've discussed, and we've had some. We think that there might be ways, if we build it correctly, where you could create all the different types and categories that you want, but just have one single entry point. And again, you as the customer can determine what the type is called, whether it's pre-punch, whether it's official punch, whether it's work to complete, but you have one tool, right, to do that and manage that. Would that make sense, right? So
I'll kick it off real quick to say, that sounds awesome, and that was the feedback I gave before. Do not take away the speed of an observation. That's the only thing that we literally like. Observations are extremely quick photo, one tiny, move on. Like super inch, small, doing the thing.
mm-hmm.
Punch list does take a little bit more effort. You gotta spend a few more seconds there, 30 seconds to actually input all this information. So as long as you can do that, then we're good.
I believe the way we would likely build it, and again, this is conjecture, but if you're familiar with field sets, that you'd likely be able to apply field sets to the different types that you've created. So an observation for you could have 4 fields, 1 or 2 of which are required, but if somebody selects to create what you've labeled as a punch list item within this new tool that I've just created, you might have a different set of field sets that have different required fields that's more robust and requires more information. I would think that that is an approach that we would take, because I think that's understood that different types of items require different types of information and input methods.
With separate structures like correspondence.
That would be the model. Nice to see you. Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar, we have a tool called Correspondence, which is probably like the coolest tool at Procore in a way, because of all of the permissioning functionality that it has. If you haven't seen that tool or played with it, it's really cool. It can do some really cool stuff.
You'll put that on the next topic, because he thinks it's cool, and we don't use it because we haven't figured out how you.
Okay, well,
So-
there you go. Put it on there.
Cool.
Yeah, it is very cool, and it serves, I think, potentially as a model for any future Procore tools or revamps of existing Procore tools because of the flexibility that it offers in terms of permissioning and the field sets that you can do and apply is really cool. So, Peyton, I imagine that if we did it like that, it would likely work very similarly to correspondence.
So I got with our team earlier today, and we literally talked about it'd be nice to merge the two
Oh, really?
tools, and just have it all in one spot. So, no joke, just about 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And call it to do, you know.
Yeah, we've
Procore name to it or something.
Yeah, we've struggled a little bit in terms of like what we might actually call it. I'm not really sure. We also have another tool called Tasks.
Yeah,
some of you
don't
have
call
made.
it tasks.
Yeah, it's kind of a lightweight observations, really. It serves a niche, but like we've got these tools, punch list observations and tasks that at its core are really just creating action items, right? So kind of what you want to call it, in a sense, kind of should be up to you, right? And I also think we probably bolt on the new workflow engine that you see, so you could create your own dynamic workflows and however that needs to work for you. So the way that I'm painting it, it can do everything. It sounds amazing. We got to build it. We'll see if we even take that approach, but we are still in the phase of where we're like talking to people just to kind of float the idea, because some people are really attached to the idea of no observations are for these type of items before we get to the punch list, and then the punch list items should be in this other bucket, and I like having them in totally separate places. And some people really like that, and I can understand that. We're curious to explore the idea of what that might look like to maybe combine, but still have a highly flexible tool. Any other thoughts on that?
I just want to say my 2 cents on your whole, like, I understand it takes, an extra few minutes to then take an observation that's been in there. Now you're creating a new item, but that's like gold to take to the sub's owner or whatever, say, hey man, I had this observation from 2 months ago. Now it's a punch item, still never got done. You need me to hire someone else to do this? Or
Yeah, no, absolutely.
like, even though it does take a little work, I think it's a great tool to have that documentation.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're just trying to figure out a way to, because we're also doing the input for the architect as well. So it's gonna be on that list, just a quicker way to move it over. But yeah, by all means, that we're trying to get our subs to complete it, and showing them a date 4 months ago doesn't really, their managers don't see that as a good item, which helps us. Agree.
Awesome. I'll ask one real quick.
For quick capture, the transcription, the audio transcription, are there any best practices for title versus description? Are they still?
They're still identical. It wasn't originally built that way, but it was easier from a back-end perspective, I believe, to set them as the same. So now you can go in and edit, and you can kind of tweak it and change it as needed. But I think we ran into some issues when we made assumptions about what the title should be versus kind of the entirety of the text which we put in the description.
Yeah.
It didn't always line up with what people would actually want to call it.
Yeah.
So now that may change at some point, but right now I believe it is still going to put in the same. Yes, they're still identical. For those of you that do try quick capture, if you haven't yet, one of the cool and kind of nifty elements of it, if you do end up using it, is if you verbalize the trade name when you say the item, it will automatically apply and label the item to that trade. But you have to make sure to say it, right? So if it's a drywall item, you got to make sure to say drywall when you create the item. But if you do that, it's one less field you have to worry about populating when when you're creating the items. It's already in there. And if you've already said Peyton is my drywall guy, that any subsequent items that you create where it's a drywall item, it automatically is assigned to Peyton. So there are some things you can do to even speed it up even further, which can be really nice once you get into it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking to her point, if there's a little coaching we've done, it's almost like you're transcribing the title as the template, if
Yeah.
you will, and
Yeah.
then you can describe whatever in addition to that.
Yeah.
after the fact.
Okay, we should sidebar on this because we have some cool ideas about trying to attach a quick capture item to an existing template. So like if it uses these words, marry it and call it this template name for the consistency that you're talking about, Lacey. So
Or based on the picture even, potentially. Yeah.
there's some cool stuff that I think we could eventually do there, but,
Yeah, it's like with our templates, I think, again, to get it faster on the phone, it was like, hardware incomplete. And then in the description, you'd physically type, so like, we didn't type titles, but we just started typing hardware, and then,
Yeah.
it knew which template we wanted.
Yep.
Then it infilled all this other stuff.
Yep.
It knew which room we were in, because we were already,
Yep.
3 items in. And then you just fit, missing 2 hinges or whatever, and so, again, you could just have a bunch of data that was easily sorted and templatized.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's like very user specific, like certain people are gonna think the video is really cool. I don't, I like the template. I mean, it's just personal preference.
Good. Cool. Any other questions? Okay, so, we're wrapping up, we're at the end of the time here anyways, so I'll put up here next meeting topics. If you went to our first meeting, so we did like some sticky notes and we kind of like themes and stuff, so we have a really good idea of kind of what the direction is taken. If you got some stuff or some new stuff, or you just want to reiterate, I really want to talk about this or learn more about X, Y, Z, whatever it is, please put it on the board. We'll add it to the list that we already have. More traction, we'll try to see what we can get, coming up in a future agenda for everyone. That's really all I have. Yes.
Okay, it says host on there. Is that what that says?
Post, yeah.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna ask.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, because how do y'all get the correspondence? Like, clearly y'all have a group, a Procore community, so how do we get the correspondence then? Like, if we are, will we be receiving future correspondence?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, once you join the community page and stuff, you'll get hit up, it's like, hey, we have a new meeting coming up, so.
Okay.
We got like, things to do like Debbie, it's our own like community page and stuff, so that's where everyone's kind of signed up through. Absolutely. So you don't have to like commit right now, but if anyone would like to host the next meeting, I have no problem doing it here, like we have a nice space here, and hopefully our audio will be like installed by then and everything, so. So I have no problem doing it, we have parking, but if anyone has a desire to host, please feel free to reach out to me or Lacey or anyone, write your name there, whatever you need to do, and we'd be happy to share the love a little bit and let anyone host that they would like to. So meet some new people, please eat all the food and drink some more beer and whatever else you got, and
It doesn't have to be correspondence next time. I just kind of threw that out there because I like the tool, but, so I don't want to decide for the group.
It was a nice topic, is because I think it's labeled in an interesting way, but
Yeah.
can be used for a lot of things.
Yes.
And so that's why I think we haven't figured out how to use it yet and leverage it, but we've kind of been told several times.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what an inspection is, everybody knows what a punch list is, they know what a change event is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that one,
It's not, industry language necessarily, or like that conjures a very specific image. Yeah, it is a widely applicable tool. I think that's certainly true. And, so, yeah, if there's quite a few folks in here that are not using that tool at all, I would say it'd probably be a good one to review.
does that mean you can help us out with another SPC for some correspondence?
I'll hook you up. We'll figure something out.
does anybody else have anything else?
Yeah, hey, we have this room until like 6:30, 6:45, however long they want to stay, so y'all please hang out, mingle, talk, meet one another, have some more food and drink, topics might arise, write them on the board. So you don't have to leave immediately. And make sure to grab some swag and stick.
Yeah, we have swag over here from Procore. Make sure to grab it.
Cool.
Nick, yeah, thank you.
Nick, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
to see you. How are you? So you're at Harvey now?